Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Business Talk Library, and today we have another guest on. Now, this guest has been on the show before. One of the things that I think is very exciting is when you see a business navigating the changes in the way that they go to market, because that's one of the very real things that you have to deal with as a business owner is really thinking strategically. Is our go to market strategy still applicable? Now, he's doing some great things in the space of marketing because a lot of companies are hiring a marketing agency and they're hoping that they're doing a good job. But if you have a good strategy and a good plan, and you have someone that you trust that knows marketing that can help you develop a strategy and a good plan, you can get out of the habit of wasting your money on marketing plans that aren't working. So stay tuned for today's episode. So without further ado, let me bring on my guest. Tim, welcome to the show again.
Terrell, thanks for having me again, man. I must have done something
Absolutely.
right the first time, right?
One of the things I've learned is that when someone wants to have you back on the show, it's just like, hey, they were happy with what you produced last time.
I'll try and do as equally good of a job this time around as the first time. So thank you for having me back.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So, for those that are, new to the show, because the show has grown since the last time you were on. It may have been about a year ago.
Yeah.
But the show has grown some. So can you tell a little bit of people about your background and your business?
Sure. So I'll give you the Cliff Note version. I was not one of those people that was like super entrepreneurial as a kid. I mean, I was always very driven. I was a good student. When I got out of college, I had no idea what the heck I wanted to do. But my dad had been an entrepreneur for a long time. He was a manufacturer's rep in the consumer electronics space, and he'd started a wholesale distribution company couple of years before I graduated, and he had no full-time employees when in the company when I graduated. I knew he needed some help, and I said, "Hey, Dad, let me work for you for the summer. I know you need some help. This will give me some time to land on my feet and figure out what I want to do with the rest of my life." And he said, "Sure." Well, dude, that was all she wrote, man. I got into it. I was doing everything. I was the first full-time employee, right? So I was shipping, receiving, selling, accounts payable, accounts receivable, all of it. I loved it. I was hooked, and I asked him if I could stay, and that's what happened, man. I stayed. I eventually became a partner. We had multiple partners in the business, but I ran it on a day-to-day basis. We grew about 60% a year for 9 years. We sold it. After that, I stayed on with the company for a while. I got laid off in 2009. We got bought by a public company. We all know what happened in 2008, 2009. I got laid off, and I transitioned into real estate at that point. I had always been interested in real estate, so I got into residential real estate. I started door knocking foreclosures, trying to help people avoid foreclosure and work in short sales with the bank. I did not enjoy it. I started waking up and I was like, oh my God, I have to do this all over again. And man, if anybody listening has been in that space before, they know exactly what I'm talking about. It's just, why the hell are you running a business if you can't stand it? So that's when I took a step back, shifted gears, and I got into marketing, which is what I'm doing today. So I guess that was the I tried to make it short, but it was probably a little long.
No, I mean, that's always exciting. I mean, to hear different people's story because, I think we're living in a very interesting time right now to where, before, if you were an entrepreneur, it's probably because you grew up in a family that was full of entrepreneurs or you were constantly surrounded by it. But I think we're living in a time now, and part of that is due to, the capabilities of the internet, where a
Yeah.
lot of people who don't have I guess you say, traditional entrepreneurial background are pursuing it and finding success in that journey. So I guess when you think about it, would you say that, hey, the entrepreneurial route was worth the effort that is required so far?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I can't do anything else at this point. I think once you have that autonomy and that freedom, this is not the case for every entrepreneur, but a lot of us start our own business because we We want to do our own thing. We want to make our own path, and we want that freedom that can provide you. So yeah, dude, I can't go back. I've got to be doing my own thing. It's not easy all the time. We all know that my path has been a very winding road, like most, but I find joy in that path and in the journey, not just the destination. And I just keep getting up every morning, doing what I like to do. And I love marketing, man. It keeps me excited. It's changing, and it's marketing. Without marketing, you don't have much of a business. So I love getting involved in helping people grow their business and get where they want to go.
Nice, nice. I love it. I love it. One of the things that I've definitely seen, in watching different entrepreneurs, as you mentioned, like that what you said is not the case for every entrepreneur. Like some entrepreneurs, they go into and they're like, "Hey, I will never do that again." And you find some entrepreneurs, as you said, and I think I fall in the same camp as you. It's just like I really can't see myself going back to another option.
Yeah.
And one of the things that, as we've done so many interviews, I've noticed is the people who tend to say that at some point in their entrepreneurial career, they started off really as just being self-employed. And then they made some tweaks to now I'm going to actually build a business. Because I think when you're self-employed, you own a job. But
Yeah.
then when you start building a business, it's different. And you and I were talking earlier about like, just, mentally thinking about, hey, let's taking a different strategic approach to your business. So what were some of the things that kind of popped up for you? Well, I guess before we do that, tell us a little bit about like what is your business focused on now?
Yeah. So and you kind of touched on this. When I have initially started Rialto marketing, we were
Mhm.
actually doing completely different things to what we do now. So we've shifted paths multiple times. What I am doing now is primarily here's what I find. I find many businesses are battling information overload when it comes to marketing.
Yeah.
As a result, they are not sure what that next marketing step should be to get where they want to go. So we work with primarily B2B service-based businesses, professional service providers, coaches, consultants, and we help them create, implement, and manage a marketing plan so they can communicate the right message to the right people so they can build results that last. So what we do is we focus on the fundamentals: target market, messaging, and your plan to get that message in front of those people. We help our clients get those things in place. And then from there, if they need it, we can help support them on an ongoing basis and either give them guidance as they implement and execute on their plan, or we can manage their plan entirely and be that outsourced partner that is taking ownership and making people accountable for the implementation and execution of the plan. Because it's one thing to have a plan, it's a totally different thing to execute on it and to manage it. You have to have those two things if you're going to be successful. So that's where we get involved. So think of us like the architect and the general contractor for your marketing, but we are not the HVAC contractor or the electrician. So we can manage the people that are implementing, but we don't actually do the implementation.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And I think that's so important because there's so many people that I'm talking to now and, different business owners and they're, asking, hey, what are you doing to grow your business? And they're like, oh, you got to get on Facebook or, oh, you got to get on TikTok. And it seems like there are so many people that are chasing the new hot item
Yes.
and I take a step back because like I said, I started doing that. Like when I first started, my business, like when I first went into it full time, like in 2020, I was like, felt like I was chasing these fads and was like, you know what? The people who probably have been around for a while, they probably have a little bit more of a strategy for this than just chasing the hottest fads. Do you see a lot
It's
of companies
easy.
doing that?
Oh yeah, it's so easy to do that. It's like I touched on, Terrell. It's so many people are battling information overload with marketing. There are so many different channels. There are no shortage of tactics within all of those marketing channels. if you do not have a plan that outlines what your priorities are and what you're going to focus on, you're like a squirrel chasing a nut. Like you don't know what your priorities are. So when, an email comes across or you see something come across your social feed about you should be doing this, it's so easy to chase that. You don't have what you need to be disciplined to go, you know what? That looks cool, but not right now because I have other priorities. It doesn't mean that you're not going to do that. It just means not right now. And man, I don't care what anybody else says. There's nothing happening in marketing that if you wait 3 months, it's going to make a freaking difference in your business. Okay. It's just not. So, look at Clubhouse is a perfect example. Okay. Clubhouse was so hot. And for those that don't know what Clubhouse is, it's basically it's an audio social network. People, it's almost like, it's kind of like radio. It's like talk radio, but you can just jump in anytime. The platform's changing a lot. I am not spending a lot of time on there, but when the pandemic hit, Clubhouse was in the right place at the right time and it took off. Like it took off. People were stuck in their houses. They didn't have anything else to do. So they're jumping on Clubhouse. Clubhouse is not so hot anymore. I think there are people that would like to think that it is hot because they spent a ton of time building an audience and that audience is like gone, or a fraction of what it used to be. Nothing moves that fast. So if you have to wait 3 months or 6 months, it doesn't matter. If you have priorities that you outlined those for a reason, and you need to put in the time to see whether those are going to bear fruit or not. So if you don't have a plan, easy to chase. Everything looks like an opportunity. If you have a plan, you know what your priorities are, you have clarity. And when we have clarity, what happens, man? Our stress goes down and we know exactly what we need to do to get where we want to go.
Yeah. And I think that one is a point that I'm learning myself more, and even in talking to other entrepreneurs, is that, the journey of entrepreneurship and building, I'll say the journey from going from self-employment to actually building a business is a very long-term perspective. And I think just that it feels like that people that are in that constant chase, it's like now I sit back and I'm like, I wonder how long they're going to last doing that. Like, if they don't get a strategy, I don't think they're going to stay in this very long.
Well, and how many people, like I know some people that built pretty large followings on Clubhouse, but they were spending like 10 to 15 hours a week on Clubhouse, or in some cases more than that. And it's like, that's not sustainable. Like you can't spend that much time in any given channel and build your business. Like there's still other things that you have to do. So it's not sustainable. Now that's okay. I mean, maybe you can put in that time now and then pull back and still see those results. I mean, I think it just kind of depends, but one of the things you touched on that I think is really important to understand as business owners or entrepreneurs, whatever you want to call yourself, is what you really want out of your business. Because we all want different things. Like some people want to build huge companies and impact millions of people and change the world. And other people they just want to get up and enjoy what they're doing every day. And they don't care if they can scale their business, or they don't really care if their business is built around them. And you know what, man? Either one of those things is totally okay. There's nothing wrong with any one of those things. But you need to know what you want out of your business in order to build the business that's going to get you what you want. And I think so many of us, look, man, I've done this too, right? Like I recently shifted and got out of, I told you this before we jumped on, we were doing a lot of marketing implementation work. And I shifted out of it because at some point I lost some sight into what I really wanted out of my business. And I realized that, damn, implementation work is not getting me where I want to go. And it is not what I enjoy and where my skill sets really lie. So I shifted my business to where my skill sets are and where it's going to help me get to where I want to go.
Nice. And I think that becomes, so true of, like I said, of thinking strategically. And, I want to talk a little bit more about like, that strategic perspective around the marketing, because I think that's the area where you provide a ton of value. Now, when it comes down to the marketing plan for a lot of people, it's when you start to work with them to help them, kind of strategize. Do you find that there are a lot of, I guess you say, mindset barriers to getting them to think strategically about marketing?
Some, but here's the thing. Our ideal clients, they value marketing, right? If they don't value marketing, they're not going to be a very good client for us. So I don't see it, and I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. This is just my perspective, but I don't see it as my job to convince you that you should do something, right? I'll tell you why we do things a certain way and why we have the process that we do.
Mhm.
And if you agree with that, then great, you're going to be a good client for us. Because our ideal clients, they value marketing, they're investing in marketing, and they know they need to continue to do so to get where they want to go, but they know they need outside help in order to do it. They know that they don't have the expertise or the time or the skill set internally to do it. Some people do, and that's great. Our ideal clients don't, and they know they need that help, and that's where we come in. But it is really important to see marketing as an investment and not an expense. It really is an investment that you're putting into your business that you should, like, why do we invest? We invest because we want to get a return on our money. Marketing is that exact same thing. Marketing is a profit center. It is not an expense. But if you have the mindset that it is an expense, it's so easy to just cut it. This isn't working. We're going to stop. No,
Mhm.
look, marketing doesn't always work. I mean, that's the one thing that a lot of marketing people don't say. Like, dude, we're not perfect. Stuff changes. There's always little nuances in the market. Marketing is not one size fits all. You have to adapt it to your business. It doesn't always work. We need to put things out there and test them and measure what's happening and then make course corrections based on what the data that we get. So it's not always going to work. You are always taking action, testing, making course corrections, and continuing to improve. It's the small incremental improvements that make all the difference in the world. But if you're not taking the action, well, then you're not going to get anywhere.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's one of the things I would say that I liked about the conversations that you and I have had, like from the last time we had you on the show to where we've talked, in between then and now you being back on the show, is I often feel like when I see a lot of marketing proposals, or I get a ton of messages in direct messages from people that are offering some type of marketing service, and it's almost like without understanding what my objective is, they come in there like, "Hey, we already have a plan for you," and I'm like, "I don't know you. Like, we've never had a
Yeah.
conversation."
So this is a really good point, because that goes back to kind of like one size fits all marketing. I could take two businesses that are they're in the same business, they serve the same market, and they have two totally different plans, because what they want out of their business is different. The resources that they have, so the time that they have, the staff they have, the budget they have is different, and where they're starting from is different. Like, when I plug in to my GPS that I want to go to Denver International Airport, the plan to get there is different if I'm starting in Inglewood or I'm starting in Highlands Ranch. It's the it's the same thing I'm just talking you through. The plan for somebody that you might think is in the exact same business is going to be different, because we're all different. So you can't apply this, oh, well, it's just, hey, we know what you need to do. You need to have a funnel, or you need to have, you need to be on social, or you need to be on Clubhouse. You can't say that to everybody that's an ideal client for you, because it's just not the case. It's not realistic. And that, I think, is the real challenge. And look, obviously I'm biased because I get involved in the management of the plan, but I think it is a very dangerous position to be in, to go to a marketing agency and ask them what you need to put in your plan.
Mhm.
Because guess what?
Gotcha.
They sell content marketing, or they sell SEO, or they sell websites, or they sell social media management, what are they going to tell you need? They're going to tell you that you need what they sell. I mean, they're not unbiased. Whereas when we come in and put together a plan for somebody, I don't care what tactics you use. We're going to make recommendations that are going to fit where you're starting from, what your budget and your resources are, and where you want to go. What somebody needs to do in their marketing plan if they want to 10x their business in the next 5 years versus, I want to double my business in 10. Those are two totally different plans, right? So you got to make sure that what's in your plan is actually in your best interest. And going to somebody that is selling implementation along with the strategy, I think you need to go into that with open eyes and be realistic.
Yep, I completely agree. I mean, it's one of those things that I always tell even some of our clients, where some of the times the best use of our time is to help them develop a game plan for, hey, the type of accountant or bookkeeper that they're going to work with. But if they're working with another bookkeeper, like, hey, the best use of our time is to help you develop a strategy, give you a game plan, and then you can have the implementation discussion with who you're already working with. Because, I agree. Trying to play both at the same time, the person who creates the strategy and the person who implements it, a lot of companies I see are very biased to where they push their own products and their own solutions. And I think a lot of business owners are starting to recognize that, and they're starting to realize the downside of that.
Well, it's, dude, we approach it very similarly. You can help somebody kind of put that game plan together. But the other thing too is like, and some of those people may take that and go, okay, cool, I'm good. I know now how I can best work with my CPA and what types of things I need to be getting from my CPA to maximize the return that I'm spending with the CPA, right? You want to get as much out of it as you can. But some people, they want to feel confident in their plan, but they still don't know, like, okay, gosh, what else do I need to do to hold my CPA accountable? My CPA is giving me all this data, but damn, I still don't know how to make heads or tails of this stuff. So there are times where you still need to step in, and it's easier for you to manage the accountant and then communicate that back to the client. And that's where we can get involved as well, where we're the person managing the marketing firm or their in-house staff, because guess what? We know what they should be doing. We can talk to them strategically and give them the guidance they need to make sure that the work they're doing is as effective as possible. And the only way that happens is if you properly manage them and guide them in what needs to be done. Like, look, I'm not telling some SEO person, you need to do it XYZ way. They know it better than I do, but I know enough about it. And I can talk to them from a strategic standpoint of, hey, look, these are the types of people we need to attract. Here's what we're saying in our messaging, so that they have that 10,000 foot level that's going to help them. It's the fuel that they need to put behind their tactics. One of the things I always say is the fundamentals are it's going and doing marketing without the fundamentals in place is like having a car with no gas. Like you're just sitting there. You may have the prettiest damn car on the block, but you aren't going anywhere because you have no fuel. You got to take the fundamentals. That's the fuel that's going to make all the tactics, whatever tactics you use, go. Any tactic can work if you have the right fuel.
Nice. I love it. I love it. Now, so people are excited. I mean, that they realize, hey, I need some help really making sure that I have my strategy, because they're spending money on marketing agencies, marketing plans, funnels, and they're like, I just don't know how to sort it all out. So how do they get in touch with your firm if they know that, hey, I need help with everything Tim is talking about? Like, I need some help.
The best place, Terrell, is our website, which is rialtomarketing.com. That's RIALTO marketing.com. Man, we have a podcast. We're all over social. If you click on the resources at the top, you'll see our blog, all the content we're putting out. Our social links are down at the bottom. I also put together some resources for your listeners. So if they go to rialtomarketing.com/business-talk-library and you're showing this page, there are some free resources here on some of the fundamentals that we really just started touching on today. So take advantage of those. There is no opt-in. You can just click on them and download them. But if you get into this and you're like, damn, I need some outside eyes, I need to get a little bit of clarity on where I should be focusing, just click on the get a free consultation button. I will be happy to chat with you for 30 minutes and at least give you some clarity on where I think you should be focusing based on where you are and where you want to go. And, from there, if it makes sense for us to continue the conversation, cool. If it doesn't, I'm going to give you as much value and help as I can during that call. And if I can connect you with somebody else that's going to be a better fit or is the exact person you need to help you based on where you're at, I'm happy to do it. I don't try to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, one of the questions that I'm always, excited to ask about is, from your experience, the things that you've learned in running your own business and navigating changes and all the many types of businesses that you work with, what's 2 pieces of advice that you would share with other business owners?
This is an awesome question. And I'm sure you get all kinds of different answers. But when you told me you were going to ask this, there were 2 things that came to mind really quickly. So I'm going with these because I think they're probably the best if they came to my mind really quickly. The first one is don't be afraid to ask for help. I have fallen into this trap multiple times. I still fall into this trap sometimes. Man, we cannot do this ourselves. There are people that have already paved the way for us. Like most of us are not, we're not starting Amazon from the beginning. Like we're in businesses where people have already paved this path. They know what it takes to get where they currently are. We just need to find those people and ask for help. Okay. Sometimes that's going to be free help from a mentor. Sometimes it's going to be paid. And that's okay. If you got to pay for it, you got to pay for it. Oftentimes you get what you pay for. So get the advice and the support you need. It will help you. It will prevent you from wasting time and it will help you get to where you want to go faster with less stress. So do not be afraid to ask for help. That's the first thing. The second thing that came to mind, and I have never struggled with this all that much, but a lot of people do. And that is being open to change. I think a lot of us with the pandemic, it's kind of forced us to be like a little bit more open to change. But man, being an entrepreneur, stuff is changing all the time. We have to go into things with eyes wide open and be open to the fact that, man, maybe the path we're going down right now is not the right one. And we need to shift gears. Because if we fight change, it's like paddling a raft upstream. Like you're going to tire out and at some point you're going to stop and just let the current take you where it may. And that's no place you want to be. So be open to change. Think about your business as objectively as you can, because man, in change, there is tons of opportunity. We just have to be open to seeing it.
Awesome. I love it. Well, Tim, thank you so much for being an amazing guest on the show. And thank you all for listening. Subscribe to the show. And we also want to say a special thank you to our sponsors, the TL Turner Group. Until next time. We get it. Keeping track of your finances can seem pretty overwhelming when you're running a business. Achieving your financial goals in business should not be a guessing game. That's why it pays to work with someone that can take a hard look at your financial numbers and not add more stress to the balancing act of running your business. The T.O. Turner Group will provide a clear and concise explanation to your financial standing.
I got the returns that you sent to me and crunched the numbers and
without a lot of the complicated language. We want you to get the most value out of the accounting and the finance side of your business. The T.O. Turner Group provides a variety of ways to approach a better understanding of your finances and provide solutions to common problems that so many business owners face. The T.O. Turner Group will simplify finance and help you make smarter money decisions in your business.